A man sitting calmly, just hours before his execution, not scared, not broken, almost like he already won. But how does someone reach that point? What kind of journey turns an ordinary man into someone who can eliminate his own family, one by one, without hesitation? Today, we are diving into a dark, intelligent, and chilling story where every move is planned, every mistake is deadly, and every decision pulls him closer to a point of no return. This is not just a story, it is a mind game filled with strategy, obsession, and consequences. Welcome to Hollywood Movies Insight, and make sure you stay till the end because this story only gets crazier. The story begins inside a prison, where Becket is about to be executed in just a few hours. Yet what stands out immediately is how calm he is. A priest visiting him finds this deeply unsettling, because this is not how someone facing death is supposed to act. When the priest offers him one last chance to speak, Becket does not hesitate. Instead, he decides to tell his entire story, almost like he wants someone to finally understand how everything led to this moment. And honestly, that opening alone tells you everything about this character. This is not a man who lost. In his mind, he won a long time ago. That is where we are taken back to the very beginning, to the person who shaped everything, his mother, Mary. Mary comes from the incredibly wealthy Redfellow family, a dynasty sitting on a fortune worth billions. But her life takes a dramatic turn when she falls in love with someone completely outside that world, a simple band member. This decision changes everything, because when she becomes pregnant, her family does not see love, they see disgrace. She is given a brutal choice: give up the baby or lose everything. And this moment is important, because it sets the foundation of Becket's entire mindset later on. Mary chooses her child over wealth, but in doing so, she unknowingly creates a life filled with struggle and resentment. Personally, I think this is one of the most powerful setups in the entire film, because Becket's obsession is not born from greed alone. It is born from watching his mother suffer for a choice she never regretted. Forced out of her luxurious life, she moves to a modest neighborhood, and from the very beginning, Becket grows up in a world that constantly reminds him of what he should have had. Things get even worse the moment he is born, when his father suddenly dies in the hospital, leaving Mary completely alone. Now a single mother, she works a basic job just to survive. But despite everything, she raises Becket with a very specific mindset. She keeps reminding him that he has not been cut off from the family fortune. He is simply last in line. And this idea quietly plants something dangerous in his mind. Instead of seeing wealth as something to earn, Becket grows up believing it is something waiting for him, as long as everyone before him is gone. What is fascinating here is that Mary never intended to plant that seed. She was trying to give him hope, but hope, in the wrong environment, can slowly turn into obsession. Even though they struggle financially, Mary makes sure Becket grows up with class and discipline. He learns piano, practices archery, dresses sharply, almost like he is being prepared for a life he does not yet have. And during this time, he meets Julia, a girl from a rich background, and instantly falls for her. But this relationship reveals another harsh truth. No matter how polished Becket appears, he is still seen as less than. Julia keeps him at a distance, and while there are moments that seem genuine, like when she kisses him in the dark, she quickly pulls away once reality returns. This moment is subtle, but incredibly important. It shows Becket that in the real world, status matters more than feelings, and that lesson never leaves him. Then comes the turning point that truly shapes him. Mary becomes seriously ill, and despite everything, her wealthy family never shows up to help. No calls, no visits, nothing. This complete abandonment breaks something inside Becket. On her deathbed, Mary tells him he deserves better, and makes him promise that he will not settle for this life. And when she dies, her final wish, to be buried with her family, is coldly ignored. This is the moment where pain turns into purpose. Standing at her grave, holding a piece of her hair, Becket makes a silent vow. He will claim what was denied to him. In my opinion, this is the emotional core of the entire story. Everything that follows is not just about money. It is about a son honoring a promise to a mother the world failed. From here, life only hardens him further. When he approaches the Redfellow mansion, he is not even given the respect of a conversation, just a cold, unsigned rejection. After that, he disappears into the foster system, losing everything, including Julia. As an adult, he lives a quiet, ordinary life working as a suit salesman, but mentally, he is still stuck on one thing: the fortune that should have been his. And for years, nothing happens. No deaths, no opportunities. Until one unexpected moment changes everything. Julia suddenly reappears in his life, still rich, still out of reach. And when she casually tells him to call her after he kills them all, it may sound like a joke, but for Becket, it hits differently, because that is the moment where the idea stops being impossible and starts becoming a plan. When he loses his job shortly after, it pushes him over the edge completely. This is where his mindset shifts from frustration to action. He stops waiting and starts thinking. And what I find most chilling about this transition is how normal it looks from the outside. He is just a quiet guy who lost his job. Nobody around him has any idea what is already forming in his mind. Now comes the first real test. Taylor, one of the heirs ahead of him. At first, Becket hesitates, because crossing that line is not just risky, it changes a person forever. But when he studies Taylor's lifestyle, he realizes something important. Taylor is reckless, careless, and constantly surrounded by distractions. And that is exactly what makes him vulnerable. Becket does not rush into it. He observes, waits, and chooses the perfect moment. A party where security is loose and chaos is normal. The plan itself is disturbingly simple, which is what makes it so effective. Becket sneaks into the party, blends in, and follows Taylor without raising any suspicion. When Taylor heads out alone on a yacht, Becket takes his chance. He confirms no one else is around, because eliminating witnesses is crucial. Then, while Taylor is asleep, Becket quietly ties an anchor to his ankle. And here is the chilling part. There is a brief moment of hesitation, the last chance to stop, but he does not take it. The second he lets go, everything changes. Taylor wakes up, but by then it is already too late. It looks exactly like an accident, and that is the whole point. What makes this first move so important is not just the act itself, it is what it does to Becket mentally. As he escapes on the jet ski, instead of fear or regret, he feels something else entirely, control. And once that feeling sets in, everything accelerates. This is the moment he realizes he can actually pull this off. And the really unsettling part, the system immediately rewards him for it. At the funeral, he plays the grieving distant cousin perfectly, forms a bond with Warren, and ends up with Taylor's job, walking right into the world that locked him out his entire life. Most viewers focus on the crime here, but I think the real turning point is this reward. It confirms for Becket that the plan works, and that confirmation is far more dangerous than the act itself. With one move behind him and growing confidence, Becket is not just thinking about inheritance anymore. He is thinking about the next step, and every step from here becomes more calculated, more precise, and more personal. After the art show, Noah invites Becket back to his apartment, giving Becket an up-close look at how the next heir actually lives. It is there that he meets Ruth, Noah's secret girlfriend, and something unexpected happens. Their conversation flows naturally, their interests align, and for the first time in years, Becket feels a genuine human connection that has nothing to do with strategy. What makes this so compelling is the timing. He is in the middle of planning something unforgivable, and yet here he is, falling for someone real. Ruth invites him to a dinner party that Thursday, which gives Becket something he rarely has, a reason to care about someone he is about to hurt indirectly. When Thursday arrives, the dinner moves smoothly, and Becket plays the charming, relatable guest effortlessly. But underneath the conversation, he is always watching, always calculating. When the moment comes, he slips away under the pretense of using the bathroom, sneaks into Noah's workshop, and carefully sets up what will look like a terrible accident. Every detail is deliberate. When Noah catches him coming out, Becket does not panic. He improvises so smoothly that Noah ends up signing him a photo as a gift, not to accuse him, just to remind him that consecutive deaths in a wealthy family do not go unnoticed. Becket plays uncertain and sympathetic, and the agents leave satisfied for now. But the pressure is quietly building. Back at work, things continue to move in his favor. Warren promotes him, gives him his own office, and 10 months after all of this began, Becket is thriving in the very world that once rejected him. The irony is sharp, and I think that is very intentional. Julia resurfaces too, claiming financial trouble, but Becket recognizes the manipulation immediately. He has moved on, both emotionally toward Ruth and strategically toward the next name on his list. That next name is Stephen, a pastor who preaches morality publicly while exploiting his followers privately. Stephen has enemies everywhere, which actually works in Becket's favor. Becket approaches him disguised as a journalist, and while they talk, he discreetly slips something into Stephen's supplement drink. But then Stephen suddenly grabs a weapon, suspecting a trap. This is the most tension-filled scene so far, because for the first time, Becket's cover nearly breaks. What saves him is honesty, partial honesty. He reveals that he is a cousin, and Stephen immediately relaxes. Seconds later, Stephen drinks from his cup. The heart attack that follows looks natural, tied to his dangerous supplement habit, and the church quietly buries the matter to avoid scandal. 3 down, and still no direct evidence pointing to Becket. Meanwhile, His relationship with Ruth continues to grow without pretense. She opens up about the guilt she feels over not grieving Noah, and Becket listens with genuine care. This is one of those details in the film I find really layered. He is the reason she does not need to grieve, yet here he is, comforting her for it. Whether that makes him a monster or a deeply conflicted human being, is something the film leaves open deliberately. The next heir, Cassandra, is protected by layers of security after the recent deaths, but she has one consistent vulnerability. Every Tuesday, she visits a spa alone. Becket studies this pattern and uses it. He poses as an employee, offers her a complimentary treatment, and the result looks like an accident tied to a faulty product she picked up during her travels. Clean, invisible, and completely overlooked. Then comes MacArthur, flashy, irresponsible with his wealth, and easy to access by blending into his inner circle. Becket sedates his coffee before a solo flight, and the resulting crash looks like pilot error. Every elimination is different. Every method tailored to the target's lifestyle and habits. By this point, Becket has stopped improvising. He is operating like a system, and that system is almost complete. With Ruth now living with him, Becket's life begins to look almost ordinary. A stable relationship, a thriving career, a beautiful apartment. And then comes Warren, the last name before his grandfather. But something unexpected happens here. Becket looks at Warren and cannot do it, not because he is afraid of getting caught, but because Warren is genuinely good. He is kind, he is supportive, and he treated Becket like family when nobody else did. This hesitation reveals something important about Becket that the film has been quietly building toward. Beneath all the calculation and coldness, there is still a real person in there, someone capable of loyalty, of gratitude, and of choosing not to cross a line when it matters. He spares Warren, and in a quiet, surprising turn, he gets engaged to Ruth, not as a cover or a strategy, but because he actually wants that life. But fate does not allow the story to end gently. Warren collapses from a heart attack entirely on his own, and in his final hours, it is Becket who sits beside him. Warren's last words are simple but devastating. He tells Becket to hold on to the people he loves, because wealth without connection is just an empty room. And honestly, coming from a man Becket genuinely respected, those words land differently than anything else in the story. At the funeral, Becket realizes only one name remains, his grandfather, Whit Law. Days later, an invitation arrives from the Redfellow mansion, arriving on the same day as his engagement party. Before he even gets there, Julia blindsides him. She has had someone following him, and now she has evidence. She demands a large payment by 5 in the afternoon, or everything gets sent to Ruth. Becket moves fast, sells assets, races against the clock, and confronts Julia's husband Lyle in a tense, uncomfortable encounter. In the chaos, he touches a letter opener on the desk without thinking. That single, careless moment will cost him everything later. What I find fascinating about this stretch of the story is that Becket, who has been flawless for the entire film, starts making small, human mistakes the moment his emotions get involved. The closer he gets to the finish line, the more vulnerable he becomes. At the mansion, Whit Law greets him with an unsettling calmness. He questions whether Becket truly understands what this kind of life costs a person. Then, in a deeply symbolic moment, he hands Becket a loaded family gun, and asks him to end it. Becket raises it and cannot pull the trigger. Whatever line he crossed years ago, this one feels different. But Whit Law has already made his own decision. The doors are sealed, and what follows is not an assassination. It is a fight for survival. Whit Law fires at him, Becket dodges, and in a room upstairs, he finds a bow, the same skill his mother made sure he learned as a child, back when life was still full of possibilities. He uses it. The final air falls, and Becket stands there realizing that his last act, after everything, was technically self-defense. There is a cruel irony in that, and I think the film intends it fully. When the police arrive, Becket tells them exactly what happened. No lies, no performance, just the truth. Because the truth, in this case, is enough. The Federal Bureau of Investigation agent watching from outside sees a man who appears clean. Becket returns home to find Ruth hurt and distant after missing their engagement celebration. He tells her about Whit Law, carefully leaving out everything else. And then the inheritance arrives. The Redfellow fortune, everything his mother lost, everything he was denied, it is finally his. He and Ruth are welcomed into socialite circles, and on the surface, it looks like a perfect ending, but it is not. The Federal Bureau of Investigation arrests him, not for any of the deaths he carefully engineered, but for Lyell's murder. The letter opener, the security footage, Julia's testimony. The one crime he did not commit is the one that catches him. And in a way, that is the most brutally honest thing This story does. It does not let him escape through cleverness. It lets consequences find him through the one moment he stopped being careful. Ruth walks out of the courthouse, sentenced to death. Becket ends up exactly where the story began, calm, composed, waiting in a cell. When Julia visits, he shows no regret, no fear. She reveals Lyle left a final note, and that note becomes the key. Becket negotiates everything, his entire fortune, in exchange for freedom. It is a move so perfectly Becket that it almost feels poetic. When the announcement finally comes, he walks out of prison and finds Ruth waiting, not with open arms, but with the locket, his mother's hair. She places it in his hand and drives away. That single moment says more than any dialogue could. She is not forgiving him. She is returning what belongs to him, and leaving him to carry it alone. Julia is waiting nearby, and Becket walks toward the mansion he always believed was his. The priest who heard his confession stays silent, bound by rules older than any courtroom. And somewhere in that ending, the film asks a question it never fully answers. Did Becket win? He has the fortune, he has the mansion, but the woman he actually loved just drove away, and his mother's locket is in his hand, not around his neck where it belongs. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video, because if you made it this far, you already know we do not do surface level storytelling here. Thanks for watching.